Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of The Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. I've got a great guest today. I've got Jeremy Barnhart. He is the VP Franchise Development and the CFO at Apex Fund Run. Jeremy, welcome to our program today.
Thanks for having me.
Man, I'll talk a little bit about the Fund Run and some of your accolades. You've been in the past named 40 under 40 business professionals in Phoenix, Arizona by the Arizona Business Journal, Finest Under 40 Achievement Award, American Express Honors Awards, and as a top performer in Tax and Business Service Division, and several other accolades. And your Apex Fund Run, really impressive here, in 0 to 77 franchises in just 3 years, served over 1,200 schools in 20 states, raised over $20 million for elementary schools in those states. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So you transitioned from corporate America to this amazing career that you have now. Give us a little bit of your backstory. Kind of start from what you're passionate about, and then what led you to actually creating this Apex Fund Run.
Sure, absolutely. So my background, I was more accounting and finance. I was with large public accounting firms, was a partner there, did a lot of consulting work, and helped with mergers and acquisitions and initial public offerings, things like that, but never really was passionate about it. Did not enjoy what I did that much. It was a great, successful career and made a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it's not about the money. And so I made a decision to make a transition to actually be retired for a few years. Things had gone pretty well for me, and I've got 3 sons that want to be able to spend more time with. I coach football, basketball, and baseball for the boys, and so wanted to be a very active, involved father, and was able to do that. Then for many folks around the country, the real estate market crash had substantial effects and hit home for me as well, and lost more money in a couple of years than I thought was even possible for anybody to lose in a lifetime. And so it got back into the game, and ultimately was able to start this business that we have today that really aligned with my passions. I've always had deep-rooted passions for both education and fitness. My father was a teacher outside of Chicago for 43 years, and so education was always just in the forefront, and was also a college athlete, and my wife was a college athlete, and again, I coach my boys in sports. And so to be able to have a company like we do today, where we're teaching kids leadership and fitness and raising money for elementary schools and organizations all over America, has been just a great blessing. And we actually just hit a milestone last week where we served our 1 millionth student. So we're really, really proud of what we do.
That's awesome. Take me back for a minute. You talk about, I'm curious about a couple of things. I always like to learn about transitions, because many of our listeners, and myself, have been in one, as not everyone's an entrepreneur that listens, but several of us are. And some of us have bought and sold companies and done retirement or tried retirement and come back out. And man, tell me about, first of all, that when you weren't passionate about what you were doing and you kind of made that retirement, what was that time like for you? And you made a decision that you were going to kind of take a step back a little bit and just slow it down and enjoy your family more and enjoy that slower time of life.
Well, it was really a time where, for those of you who unfortunately know, the phrase Sarbanes-Oxley had come out. There had been a lot of audit failures around the country. Arthur Andersen went down, and they started to change a lot of the rules as to what it took to consult clients. And really, consulting clients became a negative. Anything that you told them that they should have already known was viewed as a negative, as opposed to providing value, and really took the fun out of it for me. And so I had seen many of my more senior partners in the firm kind of go to the point where they had sold their soul to the firm, and their children had grown up to be kind of rugrats, to be honest with you. And I was not interested in having my 3 boys grow up to be basically without a father, because all they did was work, or turn out to be those kids who still live in your basement when they're 30 years old. And so I made the conscious decision to try to plan out a path where I would not only be able to get away from the stress and the travel of my career as a partner with the firm, but also be able to spend more time with the kids and be a positive impact as a father, and was able to make it happen. But I think it always requires a plan, and it takes a lot of faith to be able to make that jump.
Right.
Now, whether it's getting out of the corporate world, or even starting your own business or buying a franchise, it's a big jump, and people have to sometimes decide what risk is tolerable for them and their family and what stage they're at in their career and their life. But I tell people, do it. Life's short, and pursue your passions. There's businesses out there for everybody that connect with their passions, and I encourage people to look at franchising.
Yeah.
With they're models where they're proven models. They've got systems, they've got training, they've worked the kinks out, and for Apex Fun Run, it's a great ideal business because it's one where you're making a positive impact on your community by teaching kids leadership and fitness, but you're also raising them much needed funds. And we all know fundraising is necessary for every school and organization in America, whether they like it or not.
Right. Yeah, that's great. I love your advice about franchises. I've one of my first business actually was a franchise, and I was able to plug into their systems and processes and get that support that I otherwise would not have known my next steps or how to effectively to manage and produce in that business. So that's great. So tell me a little bit. Let's take another step back. So you talked about losing more money than you knew was possible in a year, and you got back in the game, and you that sounds really great. But give me some of the steps. What was your aha moment? When did you? Because you've got this amazing franchise now, which we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Tell me though, what does that look like getting back in the game, and what led you to having this idea, and how did you cultivate and launch it?
Well, it was really a matter of finding a need, and that's the beauty is lots of people have passions and interests, but if nobody needs it, there's no business there.
Right.
And so the beauty is I've got a really sharp business partner that's a great creative mind, and he was looking for a solution for his wife while I was looking for a solution for mine. My wife also had been at Deloitte over the years as a marketing director, but then became a stay-at-home mom once we had our second son, and so she got actively involved with the PTO or PTA at our kids' school, and she was quickly got involved with fundraising, but wanted to change the game. She didn't want it to be the typical unhealthy product-based fundraisers that every one of your listeners has participated in, whether it's cookie dough or candy bars or butter braids, unhealthy stuff. She didn't want any more of that. She wanted something that was healthy and benefited the students in addition to raising money. Right. And there really wasn't anything out there. At the same time, my partner Scott, and co-owner of the business, his wife Amy is a first grade teacher, and he and his family have long, deep-rooted passions for education and fitness as well. He played tennis in college. His father was a principal in school, and so they had the same passions. But with Amy as a first grade teacher, she found out very quickly that on her first day as a teacher, she had to spend about $400 or $500 on supplies for her classroom. And when she got home, Scott, of course, as a typical spouse, was like, "You're getting reimbursed for that, right?" And she said, "No, unfortunately, I'm not. That with the budget cuts at school, they don't have the funds for the supplies that we need." And that's unfortunately the story all over America. The average elementary school teacher here spends $600 out of their own pocket on supplies each year. Wow. And that's a lot of money for teachers. They don't make much money as it is. Right. And so started looking at solutions there because we realized that the fundraising industry needed an overhaul, that it wasn't really helping teachers, it wasn't really helping kids, and it wasn't really raising much money for schools. And so Apex Fun Run was created, and it solves all three of those issues. For teachers, with Apex Fun Run, they get to keep 10% of what's raised in their classroom. So they're getting reimbursed for some of those supplies, or they've got money they can use as they see fit. And so as you can imagine, they support and endorse our program unlike any other. On the kids front, we actually teach kids leadership skills and fitness awareness, things that will hopefully impact them for a lifetime, as opposed to those product-based fundraisers where they're either door-to-door salespeople or mom and dad are taking the order form to the office and pulling it off on their co-workers, right, which is the more likely scenario. And so we're teaching kids leadership and fitness, and it really makes a huge impact on the communities that we serve because we're letting students know that they matter, that they have value, that they can do anything they set their mind to, and that even at their age, they can be leaders in their homes and their schools and their communities. And so we get letters and emails from parents all over the country that would bring you to tears over the impact we've had on their students and change their lives. Wow. And then the third piece of the industry we wanted to change was the money side of things. most people don't realize it, but those product-based fundraisers typically only give the school about 20 to 30% of the cash. And it's a small chunk, which forces them to do fundraiser after fundraiser after fundraiser all year long. And so with Apex Fund Run, we've utilized our technology and our systems and our programs to raise double or triple for schools what they've ever raised before, while doing all the work for them and benefiting their students and teachers along the way. And so it's been a real blessing. As you mentioned, we've raised over $25 million for elementary schools around America. And the average school that we serve around the country nets about $22,000 from our 2-week hassle-free fundraiser, so that they don't have to do any of those other unhealthy ones.
That's great. I love that you came up with a win for all three sides, more reimbursements to the teachers, the kids, and then also more money back to the schools. That's great. So as you birthed this, had either of you been entrepreneurs, or had either of you launched a business of your own before this time?
Yes, we both had. So we both had that entrepreneurial bug and spirit. And Scott had gotten his MBA in entrepreneurship from a school in Texas, and we both had that. I had started a variety of businesses, and over the years with the firm, I'd obviously seen every type of client under the sun, and so I had the benefit of learning both the good and the bad. Some do well, some don't do well, but I was able to really take from those the things that worked, and I'd had a variety of franchise clients with the firm over the years as well, and so I saw this is a great opportunity to franchise our business, because it's really a community-based business where we've got local owners who are serving their schools, and they care about those schools and the students in those schools, and it really makes a great local impact. And so we created a great system with training and support and technology that allows our franchisees to really be a one-stop shop in their community. They can serve elementary schools, middle schools, high school organizations, other community sports and things like that, and really be a benefit to their community while making a great living at the same time.
Yeah, that's great. I'm in the heart of it right now. My wife is the vice president of the PTO at our second grader school. So I get to firsthand hear a lot of the challenges of fundraising on an ongoing basis. Something that stands out to me that's really cool, and I love it when it births from this. But I guess your dad was a teacher. You've got that in your blood. Your wife and you both athletes. You've been a coach. Your partner, his father was a principal. His spouse was a teacher. So you really had an idea of what was broken and what was working in the system to develop something that was this turnkey.
Yep, and it's grown like wildfire, as you mentioned. I mean, we've obviously gone from 0 to serving 1 million students in that short period of time, and already are in 23 states.
Man, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit. Let's go back to the entrepreneur business side for a minute, and I want to talk more about the mechanics and nuts and bolts of your franchise model. But tell me as you're growing, any challenges, anything you didn't expect along the way that kind of surprised you, either good or bad, as you've scaled this as quickly as you have?
Well, I think there were a couple of things. The first one is I quickly realized how difficult it is to get someone to make a complete life change and buy a franchise. I mean, people are used to having a job, having a paycheck, the stability of it, and it's very difficult to get someone to make that kind of a life change, to invest their hard-earned savings or their 401k and be able to actually take that leap of faith to start a business. Even though a franchise is a really great system and it's typically a proven model, it's still difficult for someone to go off and realize that they have to sort of eat what they kill. It's a different mindset, and not everyone has that entrepreneurial spirit or bug. And so I realized how difficult that can be. The second thing that I discovered was really the fact that we all have to identify our strengths as quickly as we can, as well as our weaknesses. And many times as an entrepreneur, you think you can do it all. And the reality is you just can't. We're good. We may be good at a lot of things, but we're not great at very many. And so the sooner you can identify what you're great at and then outsource or hire the strong people around you to fill in the gaps, the better off you are. Very quickly in our business, we were a full service franchisor. I had a warehouse with the prizes and supplies that we provide our franchisees. And so it was managing a warehouse with warehouse employees and the buying and the selling and the fulfillment. And that was just never anything that was our strength. And it took me some hard-earned lessons and some lost money to realize, hey, bring in somebody who this is their specialty, that this is what they've done and what they do. And of course, when you start a new company or a new business, you're starting off from your bootstraps most of the time, and you're trying to run as leanly as you can. And sometimes you bite off your nose to spite your face. And that was one of the lessons I learned very quickly.
Wow, that's good advice. So tell me about when you profile someone that's a good for your franchise model. Because when I think about it, and I'm entrepreneurially wired, and many of our listeners are, we're not all completely risk adverse. Some of us kind of have fun with that part of it, even more cautious. But those who are more risk averse, it seems like a franchise model that's a proven franchise model is something that's safer for them. Who's a good profile to be a franchisee?
Well, I think for us anyway, it's really someone who is community oriented, who's very connected, very social. Because the reality is with our business, anyone that you speak with is a potential client.
Right.
And most people have children, and if they do, they go to school somewhere, elementary, middle, high school, or college, and we can serve their schools or their organizations all the way. And even if they don't have children, they typically have that pet program or company or nonprofit that they look to raise money for, whether it's even their church or the local children's hospital. And we can provide any-thons that will allow them to raise more money with our systems and programs than any other fundraiser out there. And so a key for our franchisees is being that social person who's out there, who knows people, who's talking to people, who talks to them about their interest and their children and what they do, and says, hey, I can help you. If you're interested in helping others, making a difference in your community and making a living at the same time, and kind of putting the fun back into fundraising, this is the business. I mean, that's what it's all about, is networking, getting referrals, serving your organizations and your schools well, and just following our system. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't have to be brilliant at business. I mean, certainly there's facets of it with everything. You have to do your accounting, your HR, your inventory, all those sort of things. But at the end of the day, if you're able to share our program in a passionate way, people want to be part of it, and it builds a very quick, sound business that anyone can be successful with.
Yeah, that's great advice. And those that are listening that have not taken that leap out, I mean, people find this hard to believe about myself, but I was very shy when I was younger, and I actually started waiting tables in order to get over my shyness. I was an entrepreneur. I knew that I was never going to move as far as I needed to unless I could overcome some of my fears of being able to network and talk with people more. What other advice you have somebody that thinks they might be a good fit but has just never taken a leap like this?
Well, I think start doing your research. Figure out, step back and actually think about what you're good at, what you're passionate about. I think many people get caught up in the rat race. They get their major and their degree in college, and they go down a path that they think makes the most sense based on that degree or what's going to make the money and pay the bills. But they don't necessarily step back and say, hey, what am I really good at? What am I passionate about? And how can I connect what I'm passionate about and what I'm good with, or good at rather? And I think once you actually step back and identify that, then go out and do your research. There's so much information on the web these days, and there's so many different kinds of businesses that you can have that you can do lots of research. There's lots of coaches and brokers out there that can sit down with you and talk about those things that you're good at and passionate about and help you match up businesses with them. And there's opportunities for everyone. There's 3,800 franchise brands in America. It's a crazy, crazy number. But if you just take a little bit of time, everybody talks about being self-actualized. Well, most people never are. They just keep their head down. They have their career. They go through. They get married. They have kids. They get the mortgage. They get that monthly nut that they've got to hit, and they're sort of stuck in that routine pattern for the rest of their adult lives. But it's important for you to be able to every once in a while step back. Take a little time over the holidays and sit down and write a list. Write a list of what you're passionate about, what you're really good at, and then try to find a business that matches up with it. And go out there and do it. Just try it. Make something happen. You only live once, and you don't want to have regrets.
Great advice. Yeah. And as I interviewed somebody once who said the worst thing that happens is we go and get another job. It's just failure in the United States, failure where we live is the stakes aren't that high. At the end of the day, they're not always survival. We'll still be able to eat. We'll still be able to provide shelter, and so I think the risks are not as bad as people think sometimes. The what if bad things, what if good things, I'd rather focus on, and especially if you've done your homework and you've got a proven franchise model.
Absolutely. And it's a different time now than it once was. I mean, maybe our parents or our grandparents' generation had that one job for 40 years at the same company, and they got a pension and benefits. That's not the case anymore. Most people have 5, 10, 15, 20 different jobs. So it goes to your point that, yeah, go ahead, take a risk, go out there. And if it doesn't work out, then go get another job, because most people don't necessarily have careers as much as they do have jobs.
Right. Yeah. And like you said earlier, do your homework on it. And I've had some businesses I've sold that did well, and I've had a few that failed. And I write about that and talk about those, that I wouldn't trade anything on those scars that I earned from those failures, because I learned from them and built something more significant and learned along the way. So a good franchise model has already learned from some of those mistakes. So you're buying into something that's safer and lower risk.
Absolutely.
So tell me about the importance of mentorship, or tell me where you get your guidance from.
Well, I think it goes back to the valuable experience that I had with the firm over the years, and the fact that I had lots of clients that were both publicly and privately held. And so I got to see lots of entrepreneurs, and I always was a listener. I always really tried to take in the information on not only what was successful, but what also was failures for people, to be able to learn from those. And I got involved with local organizations. There are so many organizations in every community around America that you can be part of that have lots of other business owners, lots of other types of entities, organizations, and people love to share their stories. So go out there and get involved with here in Arizona was Arizona Business Leadership that I was on the board of years ago. And there was lots of other types of business owners and business leaders, and people share their stories, whether good or bad. People love to talk. And if you just take the opportunity to ask people some questions and let them share their stories, they're generally willing to do that. And why not learn from somebody else's mistakes than have the expensive mistake of doing it yourself? So I encourage people, go out there, look at the organizations, the networking groups that are in your community, and just have a coffee with somebody, have a lunch with somebody. There's always people who have been in industry of all different types for 30, 40, 50 years, and they love to talk. So let them do it. Just go out there and listen.
Right. Yeah, that's great. It's amazing those that will grab a cup of coffee with you for a few minutes if you just ask.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about, it seems like you really do enjoy what you do, and I like that. I can hear the passion in your voice, and that's always good to hear, especially when you came out of an industry where that was making changes and you weren't completely passionate about some of those changes. What does drive you? What does success look like for you, and what drives you each day?
Well, what really drives me is being a good example for my three sons. I feel like I've shown them that you don't have to go out and have a job or work for someone else. You can actually have a business, but also have a business that makes a positive impact in the world. And we're leading by example by having franchisees all over America who then hire young athletes to serve schools and to be able to teach those leadership and fitness attributes to those students. And I'm passionate about the fact that we are making such an amazing impact. Those stories that we get every day genuinely bring people to tears over the impact we have on these students. And I love that. I don't get to see it first person that much because of the, kind of running the business. Right. But I live vicariously through my franchisees, and they live vicariously many times through their employees that are actually in the schools serving the students. But we've got some great internal Facebook pages that they share stories all over the country. And my wife does a great job of sharing some of those stories with me because I'm not on Facebook as much as I maybe should be. But I love to see the impact that we have, and I can hear and see the pride in my franchisees. And then I was in Los Angeles a few months ago with one of my franchisees, and she said that every day when she puts her head on her pillow, she knows that she can be proud of the fact that she's made a positive impact on her community and made a living at the same time. And that's all I can ask for, is really having a business that makes such a positive impact on the world and really helps students one student at a time. Absolutely.
And business with purpose is great. And there's really nothing more special than when you see these kids interacting in the schools and when they're engaged and they're enthusiastic. That's just really exciting. So tell me, what's been the best marketing for you? You're growing so fast. What's been the best way for you getting word out? I'm just, as a marketing company here, I'm curious of what's been working for you.
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing that's worked for us is actually brokers. There are a lot of franchise brokers out there, and because we have such a unique model, it can be challenging for people to, one, find us, because when you look at franchising, you see restaurants and elder care services and gyms and things like that, but you don't necessarily see a fun, rewarding business like ours. And even if you look at our business on first glance, people think fundraising. Well, how does that work? And and it sometimes has a negative connotation, but when they actually have a conversation with a broker and the broker says, hey, listen, I've got this great community-based business that's really fun and rewarding, just give them a chance. And they have one conversation with me and they soon realize, wow, this is amazing. It's not what I thought it was going to be. It really sounds fun and rewarding, and it makes a better ROI than most businesses out there. And so it's really been brokers that have helped us a lot, because portal leads and other types of leads just don't work because people take first glance and assume you're a nonprofit or assume that you're doing something that isn't fun, even though we have a lot of fun.
You said how many franchises are there again?
We're just turned over 80.
80, but I think you were saying in general out there, like
3,800.
3,800. Okay, and I'm looking at some other accolades for Apex Fun Run. It's 77th fastest growing in the U.S.
That's right,
and the 33rd fastest growing franchise among new franchises that have started in the past 5 years.
Yep.
Received the 2016 Franchisee Satisfaction Award from Franchise Business Review for the second year in a row, and ranked as one of the top 50 franchises in the United States for franchise satisfaction. That's impressive. You're doing some things very well.
Thank you. We're very proud.
Hey, you've got apexfunrun.com if our listeners want to learn more about you. Anything else you want to share about those that might be curious about either their school being involved or to find out, hey, is this something that's available in my area? Or how do I learn more if I'm curious about just to look and see what the next step might be?
Yeah, absolutely. If you go to apexfunrun.com, you'll see that there's an opportunity to fill a form out if you're looking for information on us serving your school or helping your organization out. There's also a franchising page where you can submit and get more information on franchising with us as well. And I say just have a conversation. Shoot me an email, ask, and we're here to help.
Awesome. What ages are your sons now?
17, 13, and 11.
Wow. So you're very much in dad mode still.
I really am. Yeah, we've got sports 7 days a week between practices and games, and it's never ending.
And what are you coaching?
Right now, I'm just coaching football.
Okay.
I've got they're all kind of getting to the ages where they're starting to be in club sports, travel sports. Yeah. And my oldest is obviously high school. My oldest is a runner. So he does cross country and track, which is, some of the reasons why we created Apex Fun Run is something that was fitness based because he was a big runner. And so they're getting to the age where I'm hopefully going to be able to step back and just be dad and watch the games as opposed to being stressed out coach on the sidelines.
That's right. Yeah. I watched my brother go through that transition. I don't think he ever completely made it. He was still coaching from the stand. So
it never ends if you've got that in your blood.
I've got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, so I'm not quite there yet, but I'm looking forward to those years too. So
yeah.
So how do you find balance? I mean, you've got a lot going on. You talk about work-life balance with the franchise. What do you do to be able to take time out and make sure? I mean, obviously you're coaching your team, so you're able to spend time with them. But what have you learned over the years that helps you to have balance and making sure that you have enough time for your family and your business? I
think the key is really scheduling. If you have the best of intentions, it doesn't always work out. But if you put something on your calendar and you stick to it as if it were the most important business meeting ever, it makes it happen. So I'm forced to get out of the office to go coach sports. I'm forced to get out of the office to go to the kids' games because I don't want to miss those opportunities to see those games. And I schedule things for myself as well. And I treat them all as if they're all the same and they're all important. And I think that's the key is there's always more work to be done. You could work 24/7 if you wanted to, right, but you've got to force yourself to keep the things that are important the top priority. And family has to be, your health has to be. Mm-hmm. And I know it's easier said than done, but I really try to schedule it out so that it keeps me from being in my office 24/7. That's great. Any other words of encouragement or anything else you want to share with our listeners about the franchise opportunity? No, I think just do it. I mean, it's something to look into it. It doesn't cost you anything to look into it. You have no obligation. You can reach out to any franchise in America. They'll be more than happy to talk to you. Many times you're going to talk to a franchise development person who's getting paid a commission to bring you in, so they may have a little bit of a bias. But with our organization, I'll talk to you as the owner. I want to get to know people. I want to share our brand. And then I only grant territories to people who have the right passions and interests and experience so that they're going to be successful. But conversation's free. So, take the time, do your research, have some conversations. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, you at least know that you tried. Yeah. Jeremy, thank you so much. Thanks so much for being our guest. I want to invite our listeners to go to apexfunrun.com. Jeremy Barnhart, he is the co-founder and VP of Franchise Development and has offered to talk to you. And so if you are interested, you can learn more information. But otherwise, we appreciate your advice, Jeremy, and just tell us about your story and about how you've grown. And we look forward to seeing all the things that you're doing. You've got a great reputation, and your business is growing tremendously from that. Well, thank you for having me today.
Hey, have a great one, Jeremy. Thank you.
You too.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be.